I grew up in a small town in the foothills of Alberta's Rocky Mountains, and my parents worked really hard. They made sure we had a big, beautiful, fixer-upper home, and we had the white picket fence and the big yard, and a beautiful view of the foothills in the background. And some of my favorite memories were scurrying home from the bus to see my mom after school. She would always welcome me home with open arms, ask me about my day, feed me a snack, and get me ready for my job, which was to distract my 3 little brothers while she made dinner. And I loved my mom. I grew up knowing that she really loved me, and she's always there for me. She's here tonight. Hey, Mom. And like most things, like many things, appearances can be deceiving. And that was true for us. Behind the white picket fence and behind the old character of the home, behind the view, the truth is that we lived in fear for when Dad got home. If you asked a lot of people in my life what my dad was like, they would say he was charismatic, he was magnetic, he was a leader, but behind closed doors he had a lot of pain. And he medicated that pain with drugs and alcohol, and it often manifested in a lot of violence towards my mom, towards my brothers, towards me. And one thing that my mom always taught me was to work really hard. And that's what she did do. She always worked really hard for us. And I was really lucky because she helped us get out. And so she covertly saved up all of her money, and we call it the Great Escape. With the 4 of us, she moved across the country with 3 suitcases, 1 stroller, and a whole lot of determination to make it work. And it did. We didn't really grow up having a lot, but we did have people who loved us a lot. And I grew up knowing I was loved, but there was always something missing. And it was because I grew up, after we came to Ontario, my dad never tried to get a hold of me. He never bought me birthday presents. He never really called. So I grew up a child of abuse and a child of neglect. And that can really mess you up. It can make you doubt yourself. It can make you hate yourself. It can make you not have confidence. I remember when people would ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I didn't know what to say because I didn't think I could do it. So I did my thing, kind of wandered through life. But like I said, my mom taught me always work hard. So I did. I worked hard. I put myself through school. I finished school. And my reward to myself was to buy a plane ticket to Alberta. I wanted to see the mountains again. I wanted to maybe see the white picket fence, maybe see where I grew up, connect with myself. I was ready to do it. So I sat down with my mom and I said, Mom, I think I'm going to go back to Alberta. And she said, well, why don't you try to find your dad? Whoa. I didn't even think of that. So we talked and she said, I would be so proud of you if you did that. I would be so proud of you if you didn't do that. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to find him. I'm going to find him. So through my mad lurking skills on social media, my connections with my family, other serendipitous things, I managed to track him down to 1 address. Not an email address, not a phone number, 1 address. So I sent him a letter and I said, hey, I'm going to be here at this point in time, in this place. Let's meet. And he mailed me back and said, sure, let's meet. So I went to Alberta and I met with my friend Adrian, who's also here tonight. And we made the road trip. We listened to Alanis Morissette the whole way. I channeled my inner angry woman. It was great. And we drove up. We drove up to the venue where we were supposed to meet. And it was a windy day, but I remember seeing in the distance, there he was. And I took a breath and I said, okay, Adrian, I'm going to go do it. So I did. I walked up. He looked over at me. I took another breath and I said, hi. And he looked at me like, who the hell are you? I have no idea who you are. In the same breath, I said, it's me, your son, Zach. And in that moment, his hands shook. They were wiry and they covered his face. And he said, holy shit. He hadn't seen me in 19 years. And in that moment, I could see in his eyes that his world had been totally turned upside down. Everything that had happened, everything that he had gone through, everything that I had gone through, we just kind of connected in that moment. And we hugged. Something I didn't expect. So we were at a coffee shop, so he said, hey, let's grab a coffee. And I said, sure, let's grab a coffee. So I got to tell him a lot of things that he didn't know. I told him I was gay. I told him I was in love. I told him I put myself through school. I lived in the big city. I also had to tell him things that hurt a little bit. I told him that his family didn't really want to talk to him, and that he had a grandchild that nobody wanted him to meet, that his ex-wife was remarried in love. But it was a really honest conversation. So he said, you know what, let's go to my place where I live. And I said, sure, let's go see what's up. So we took a walk, and I remember we were walking down the street. I got to see where I grew up. I got to see my bus stop when I was a kid, the street I ran down to see my mom when I was a kid, the back alleys where I did things that my mom still doesn't know about. All of these things, it was great. And I remember walking up the street, and I could see in the distance, it was like this compoundish brick structure. It looked like a school, and he brought me to it, and I thought it was weird, but whatever. He brought me in. There was even a concierge. I was like, sweet, awesome. So we walked down the hall, and it was echoey. Our feet were echoing on the floor, and nobody was there. It was just weird. So we went into this room in the corner, and he walked me to the very back, and there was a cot on the ground with a pile of clothes beside it and a small table, and he said, this is where I live because I'm homeless. And I said, nothing, because I didn't know what to say. The only thing that I could say was inside of me, and it was compassion and empathy. Something that I hadn't felt for him in my entire life. So in that moment, I changed a little bit. I tried not to cry, I did, and we had a moment again. And I was like, holy crap, this is like too much. So he said, let's go for another walk, and I said, okay. And so we took a walk, and we talked some more, and he brought up a lot of the stuff, a lot of the really painful stuff. That time I dragged you down the hall, that time I hit you with the metal side of my belt. And he said, I'm really sorry, and I instantly said, I forgive you. Weight lifted. And that day changed my entire life. From that day forward, I had confidence. I could say what I wanted to do. I could have really honest relationships with people. My career took shape after that. Everything changed in that one moment. So if there's anything that you can take away from this story, we all have scary things we have to deal with. Sometimes they condition us to be afraid, but if you face the demons head on, and you look them in the eye, and you have a little compassion and empathy, it will change your life. It will. So thank you very much. Thank you for being here.